The House of Representatives will now come to order. Leading us in our prayer this afternoon is Father Joe Holshauser of the Fort Pierre Ministerial Association, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance led by Isla Rhodey of Sturgis. Please rise.
Let us pray. Lord, you are a God of all compassion, just as a father has compassion on his own children. You have compassion on all who fear you. May all who work in the House of Representatives truly fear you, for this is the whole duty of man. We praise you for being slow to anger, abounding in love. During this Lenten season, make us keenly aware that we are to reflect and repent on your great merciful love for each of us who are humble and meek. Give wisdom and strength to our lawmakers as they may work for the righteousness and justice, especially for the people of the great state of South Dakota. Satisfy them with your love so that they may soar like the eagles. We ask all this from you who live and reign, God, forever and ever.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Representatives Andera, Arlen, Auk, Elward, Baummuller, Bathke, Baxter, Sismowski, DeGroot, Derby, Duffy, Emery, Fitzgerald, Fosness, Garcia, Goodwin, Gosh, Greenfield, Helverson, Healy, Heerman, Heineman, Hughes, Hunt, Ismay, Jameson, Jensen, Jordan, Jorgensen, Casson, Kaiser, Colbeck, Call, Wagner, Lems, Manhart, Massey, May, Moore, Mortensen, Muckey, Mullally, Mulder, Knowles, Norstrup, Odenbach, Overwig, Peterson, Poyer, Randolph, Rayfelt, Reimer, Reich, Rice, Roby, Rowe, Schaefbauer, Schwanz, Shorma, Schubeck, Sharda, Soy, Stevens, Uri Balk, Van Diepen, Wahlberg, Weems, Weisgram, Whitman, Speaker Hansen.
Here.
Mr. Speaker, there is a quorum.
Approval of the journal.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Chief Clerk of the House has had under consideration the House Journal of the 30th day. All errors, typographical or otherwise, are duly marked in the temporary journal for correction. And we hereby move the adoption of the report respectfully submitted. John Hanson, Chair.
That motion having been made and seconded, any remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the journal will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Communications.
Mr. Speaker and members of the House of Representatives, I have the honor to inform you that on March 3rd, 2026, I approved House Bills 1012, 1013, 1014, and 1022, and the same have been deposited in the office of the Secretary of State. Respectfully submitted, Larry Roden, Governor.
Reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Office of Engrossing and Enrolling has carefully compared House Bill 1027, 1049, 1092, 1099, 1107, 1126, 1164, 1188, 1193, 1234, and 1264, and finds the same correctly enrolled. Respectfully submitted, John Hanson, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that House Bill 1001, 1007, 1041, 1056, 1096, 1101, 1104, 1119, 1130, 1143, 1146, 1197, 1219, 1233, and 1260 were delivered to His Excellency the Governor for his approval at 9:12 a.m. March 3rd, 2026. Respectfully submitted, John Hanson, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on House State Affairs reports that Senate Bill 151, and Senate Bill 175 and Senate Joint Resolution 508 do pass. Senate Bill 159 and 171 be amended and do pass. Respectfully submitted, Scott Odenbach, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on House Taxation reports that Senate Bill 208 was tabled. Senate Bill 228 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Aaron Elward, Chair. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on House Agriculture and Natural Resources reports that Senate Bill 39 be amended and do pass. Senate Bill 40 and 124 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Marty Overweg, Chair.
Reports of conference committees.
A conference committee on Senate Bill 3 respectfully reports that it has considered the disagreement of the two houses and returns the recommendation that said bill be amended as found in the House Journal.
Messages.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to return herewith House Bill 1102 and 1194, which have been amended by the Senate, and your concurrence in the amendments is requested. Also, Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to return herewith House Bill 1027, 1049, 1092, 1099, 1107, 1126, 1164, 1193, 1234, and 1264, which have passed the Senate without change. Also, Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that House Joint Resolution 5001 was lost on second reading and final passage. Also, Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate has concurred in House amendments to Senate Bill 111. Also, Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to transmit herewith Senate Bill 37, 69, 79, 136, and 220, which have passed the Senate and your favorable consideration is requested. Respectfully, Peggy Lorenz, Secretary.
Motions and resolutions.
Representative Jordan moved that the House do concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 1265.
That Jordan motion, that the House do concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 1265, having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion, Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the Senate, they just brought an amendment that Game Fish and Parks worked on, and all the parties came to the table, and it made it so that Game Fish and Parks is not opposed to it. It got rid of the permit and the fee, and they're going to recognize the federal permit to salvage age. So all parties involved agreed to this amendment, so I ask the body to concur, please.
Thank you. Further remarks on the Jordan motion? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, and the motion before the House is the Jordan motion that the House do concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 1265. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote. Representative Greenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have someone in our audience today that is the Hugh Hammond Bennett Conservation Planner Award recipient. The award honors the legacy of Hugh Hammond Bennett, known as the father of soil conservation. As a resource conservationist with the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, Jordan balances his time between outreach, training, and his direct work with producers. Jordan is sought after as a resource to lead and develop outreach events, teach new employees about conservation planning, help staff build relationships with producers, and work through complex conservation planning challenges. Shane is joined today by his wife, Heather, and I would like for you to join me in recognizing Shane Jordan, the 2025 Hugh Hammond Bennett Conservation Planner recipient.
Representative Poirier.
Personal privilege, Mr. Speaker?
Granted.
Well, a couple nights ago, we heard a sound from Ellsworth Air Force Base. If anybody knows, I live south of the Rapid City Airport. So when there's action, we hear it. My husband woke me up and said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Yes, that's the sound of freedom." So I want to take a moment to honor the airmen and the families who support it. Today, we honor the incredible airmen and aircraft who took part of Operation Epic Fury, an operation that reminded the world of America's precision, power, and resolve. The B-1B Lancer, proudly flown from Ellsworth Air Force Base, stood at the heart of that mission. Its unmatched speed, range, and payload once again proved critical to defending freedom and protecting those who serve. But beyond that technology, it's the courage and the professionalism of the men and women behind that aircraft that makes us proud. Their service represents the very best of South Dakota and our nation. The quiet strength, the relentlessness, the dedication, and the will to answer when called. Today, we salute the crews, the maintainers, and the families whose commitment and sacrifice carries Operation Epic Fury. May we never forget what they achieved together at supersonic speed.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the votes.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 65, nays 1, excused 4.
The Jordan motion, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared carried. Senate amendments to House Bill 1265 are concurred in.
Yesterday, Representative Jorgensen announced her intention to reconsider the vote by which Senate Bill 190 lost.
Representative Jorgensen now moves that the House now do reconsider the vote by which Senate Bill 190 lost. Is there a second? That motion having been made and seconded, remarks on your motion, Representative Jorgensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We had some members that were missing, and we have additional information. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on the Jorgensen motion? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is the Jorgensen motion that the House now do reconsider the vote by which Senate Bill 190 lost. All those in favor of reconsideration will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote. Representative Moore.
Personal privilege.
Granted.
Yeah, with us today, I got 3 of my grandkids, actually the 3 oldest, and they're Chamberlain Cubs. They should be Ipswich Tigers, but they are Chamberlain Cubs. So I got Billy Diane over here, Avira, Elizabeth, and Crocker, stand up. Crockett's Steven here. They are very busy in sports, and so they came to visit one last time, I guess. So, and then up in the gallery, I got my wife of 40 plus years, my oldest daughter, who was a teacher, kindergarten teacher for the last 18 years in Chamberlain. Then my youngest daughter and her baby, Victoria Peterson, and she was a teacher just across the street till this last spring, and then she started Little Girls Daycare. So she's an entrepreneur, I guess you could say. So would you help her welcoming her? How'd that happen? And then I forgot Parker Rose, so she's up there. She's less than a year.
Greenfield votes aye.
Representative Heineman. Granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, up in the gallery, I have my predecessor, and I was the predecessor of him before that. The same district, actually it's changed now, it's 25 instead of 8. But welcome back, Randy Gross.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 30, nays 36, excused 4.
The Jorgensen motion, having failed to receive the majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared lost.
Representative Jameson moved that the Committee on State Affairs be instructed to deliver Senate Joint Resolution 504 to the floor of the House pursuant to Joint Rule 7-7.
Is there a second? The Jameson motion that the Committee on State Affairs be instructed to deliver SJR 504 to the floor, having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion, Representative Jameson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Joint Resolution 504 had a close first vote in committee, but the opportunities for the entire body are huge, and I'd respectfully ask that you stand so we can all evaluate the merits of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on the Jameson motion, Representative Odenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, on the 25th in State Affairs, we had a great hearing on this bill. The original South Dakota Constitution gave us two things, among many others: strict prohibition on gambling.
Let's try to avoid the merits.
And a committee process.
There we go.
We had 5 proponents and 12 opponents in a great hearing, and the bill was killed. And I would ask all of you to not smoke out this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on the Jameson motion, Representative Poirier.
I was in the committee. I witnessed a robust debate. I respectfully ask you to not stand. If we stood every time something got defeated by one vote, we'd be standing here all day long. So please remain seated. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on the Jameson motion. Any further remarks? Anything in closing, Representative Jameson? Representative Norstrop.
Just to ask the question, Mr. Speaker, is the board correct up there at Senate Bill 190?
No, we are on the smokeout motion by Representative Jameson of SJR 504. Thank you. Everybody clear on the motion before the House? Okay, are the members clear? We are on the smokeout motion of SJR 504. All right. The Jameson motion that the Committee on State Affairs be instructed to deliver SJR 504 to the floor of the House pursuant to Joint Rule 7-7 requires 1/3 of the members to stand. If the representative is supported, please stand. He is not supported.
Representative May moved that the Committee on Education be instructed to deliver Senate Bill 198 to the floor of the House pursuant to Joint Rule 7-7.
Is there a second? The May motion that the Committee on Education be instructed to deliver Senate Bill 198 to the floor pursuant to Joint Rule 7-7 having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion, Representative May.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to encourage the body to support this smokeout there is an amendment that'll address some of the concerns that were heard in committee. So thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on the May motion? Any further remarks? Representative Rice.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, I was in the committee, and we did hear opposition both ways, and we weighed out. Our Secretary of Education was against this bell-to-bell phone, ban in our schools, and I just hope we don't smoke it out. Thank you.
Further remarks on the May motion? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is the May motion that the Committee on Education be instructed to deliver Senate Bill 198 to the floor of the House pursuant to Joint Rule 7-7. This requires 1/3 of the members elect to stand in support. If the member is supported, please stand. The member is supported. The Committee on Education will be instructed to deliver Senate Bill 198 to the floor. Consideration of committee reports.
Representative Odenbach moved that the reports of the standing committees on judiciary on Senate Bill 49, as found on page 467 of the House Journal, also State Affairs on Senate Bill 135, as found on page 466 of the House Journal, be adopted.
That motion having been made and seconded, any remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Odenbach motion will signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. First reading of Senate bills.
Senate Bill 37, make appropriations for water and environmental purposes and to declare an emergency. Senate Bill 69, make an appropriation for the purchase of a new Division of Highway Patrol airplane and mission equipment and to declare an emergency. Senate Bill 79, make an appropriation to the South Dakota Board of Technical Education to construct an advanced manufacturing laboratory space and classrooms on the campus of Southeast Technical College and to declare an emergency. Senate Bill 136, make an appropriation for grants to support the purchase of personal protective equipment by volunteer fire departments and to declare an emergency. Senate Bill 220, authorize a comprehensive study of juvenile, correctional, and residential facilities to make an appropriation therefore and to declare an emergency.
Speaker waives committee referral. On Senate Bill 37, Senate Bill 69, Senate Bill 79, Senate Bill 136, and Senate Bill 220. Second reading of consent calendar items.
Representative Jensen requested that Senate Bill 44 be removed from the consent calendar. Senate Bill 90, expand the information required to be sent to the prescription drug monitoring program for each registry identification card holder. Senate Bill 132, modify provisions related to the South Dakota Veterans Council. Senate Bill 142, amend the requirements for filing certain campaign finance disclosure statements. Senate Bill 43, address search and seizure provisions applicable to digital currency. Senate Bill 45, revise a provision regulating delta-8 tetrahydrocannabinol, TCO acetate, and hexahydrocannabinol for persons under the age of 21 and to provide a penalty therefore.
Consent calendar items having had their second reading are up for consideration and final passage. Consent calendar items are bills and resolutions that have been reported out of committee with no negative votes and certified as uncontested. If any member objects to the placement or retention of any item on the consent calendar, the item must be removed from the consent calendar and placed on the House calendar for debate. Items on the consent calendar are not debatable, but questions may be asked. Are there any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, then the question before the House, are the items final passage on the consent calendar? All those in favor will vote yea, those opposed nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote.
Representative Arland. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 65, nays 1, excused 4.
Consent calendar items having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members-elect are hereby declared passed. Any questions on the titles? Seeing none, titles are deemed correct. Second reading of Senate bills.
Senate Bill 15, an act to create the Developmental Disability Service Delivery Committee.
Senate Bill 15, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Heineman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an amendment.
What's the number of that amendment?
15C.
15C. Has it been distributed online?
It has.
You wish to move it at this time?
I do.
The Heineman motion to amend Senate Bill 15 with Amendment 15C having been made and seconded. Remarks on your motion, Representative Heineman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 15 basically was the addition or the creation, I guess, of a committee that we had for the summer, the Disabilities, Community Support Providers, State and Federal Efficiencies Interim Committee. We did rename it, and the question came up as to whether it's a permanent committee or whether it's a temporary committee. That discussion was had. Actually, the representative from Fort Pierre withdrew this particular bill from the consent calendar because of that question. It was a very valid one. So we discussed that. We came up with a compromise, I guess, of 4 years. And there's some reasons I'll mention about that when I talk about the need for Senate Bill 15. So I urge your passage of the friendly amendment to SB 15C.
Thank you. Further remarks on the Heineman motion to amend? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is the Heineman motion to amend Senate Bill 15 with Amendment 15C. This is the voice vote. All those in favor of the motion to amend will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are now on Senate Bill 15 as amended. Representative Heineman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the body for that. As I mentioned, we had 3 meetings this summer. There is a report you can look online. I won't bore you with reading of that 2-page report, but there were some good things that came from that committee. I think probably the most important thing is the patients, the clients, and the individuals and parents in these community facilities, there's 20 of them, if you know, across the state, that they had a sounding board to come to and register, if you will, their complaints. the DDD has worked very diligently to try and make some improvements. There's a host of federal regulations. We're applying for what's called a waiver. Some of you may know what that means, some not. I won't get into that as well. But the question, of course, is can we have a follow-up to encourage the Department of Social Services, DDD in particular, to follow through with some of their recommendations and what they came to us with their complaints, and we spelled that out, and they agreed to continue to work with us. And actually, the department agreed to having a committee that they would be able to be reportable to. And if you looked at that, we did change, there was an amendment there. I'm not trying to dig all these things up because you're not supposed to when you do a bill like this, but there was an amendment that it was an oversight committee, and the administration felt strongly that it really wasn't an oversight committee. It was more a committee that would report what's happening in this particular area of our healthcare system in the state. And we agreed to that. We met and agreed to that amendment. So I think it's appropriate that we have this committee ongoing 4 years. Is that correct? I don't know. The waiver system is going to take about 2 years to develop, 2027. And then implementation, that's going to take another year at least. We have a methodology study that's going to go through at that time. That's going to have to be looked at. So there are a number of things that are going to have to be followed up on, and we just thought as a committee we could continue that oversight. Again, sorry to use that word, but that we would be able to see what's going on and have the patients as well come to us as a sounding board. So I guess with that, I'll urge you to support Senate Bill 15. I think that pretty much explains what we all did. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 15? Any further remarks? Representative Mulder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, just real quick, just the importance on this bill and why it needs to exist. There are essentially 5 stakeholder groups coming together on Senate Bill 15. You have, as the good representative mentioned, you have the family members and the participants of the programs, those with disabilities. That touches every corner of the state. It's serving every corner of the state, close to 10,000 people across the board when you include family members and what you have going on there. You have the providers themselves. You have then conflict-free case management, which is another service outside of the providers that's needed due to federal mandates and services. You have the department themselves, and then you have this body, the legislature, that's supposed to fund all of that. All 5 of those need to have and develop shared values moving forward. Because when they're not funded at 100% methodology, they have to find agreements on the efficiencies and the expectations in order to move forward. And that's what we need to have and continue this conversation. We need to have some knowledge, institutional knowledge in this body as well, just as legislators rotate out, to have some continuity in that stakeholder collaboration. So that's the importance of Senate Bill 15 moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 15? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 15. All those in favor will vote yea, those opposed nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 67, excused 3.
Senate Bill 15, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Whoops. Seeing none, the title is incorrect.
Senate Bill 130, an act to make an appropriation for roadway and related infrastructure improvements required because of construction activity at Ellsworth Air Force Base and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 130, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. I bring before you today Senate Bill 130 in support of one of our state's most valuable assets, Ellsworth Air Force Base. Senate Bill 130 is an act to make an appropriation for roadway and related infrastructure improvements required because of construction activity at Ellsworth Air Force Base, and it declares an emergency. All of South Dakota is proud to be home to Ellsworth Air Force Base. For generations, the base and the surrounding communities have worked side by side to build a strong place to live, work, and raise a family. This relationship has created tremendous opportunity, but it also comes with responsibility. Many of us remember about 20 years ago, March 13th, 2005, the day when Ellsworth Air Force Base was placed on the BRAC closure list. South Dakota and the Black Hills region were told there was little chance of changing the decision. Still, more than 11,000 people showed up to make their voices heard. State and federal leaders stepped up, and together they saved the base. Many of you in this room played a key role in those efforts. That moment shaped our region, and it still matters today. So now let's fast forward 21 years, and now Ellsworth Air Force Base is more important than ever to our national defense. It plays a key role in strategic deterrence and long-range strike capability. Ellsworth will soon be home to the B-21 Raider stealth bomber mission in 2027, next year, and is already home to the 28th Bomb Wing and its B-1B Lancer bombers and MQ-9 Reaper drone operations. What happens in western South Dakota matters far beyond our state lines. Ongoing B-21 construction projects represent more than $2 billion in investment. This is in addition to the recent completion of a $130 million runway project. Those investments are expected to generate between $60 and $80 million in state sales and excise tax revenue that go into our general fund. Moreover, Ellsworth Air Force Base is the largest employer in western South Dakota and the second largest in our entire state. Senate Bill 130 is a straightforward and responsible step. It helps repair roads damaged and by installation-related construction and brings them back to their original condition. Just as important, it shows that our state is willing to stand behind the significant federal investment happening right now. It shows we have skin in the game. The bottom line is supporting Ellsworth Air Force Base today helps position it for current and future missions. Please join me in supporting Ellsworth and our military and vote green on Senate Bill 130. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll stand by for questions or other speakers.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 130, Representative Duffy.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm just going to follow up just a little bit. I thought the previous speaker did a great job of kind of outlining the issue. Senate Bill 130 does help Ellsworth with those roads in the cross-section of Meade, Pennington County, Box Elder, and Rapid City. They're not asking for us to build their roads. They're simply asking us to get them back in shape so they can handle the safe traffic for cars and trucks. I have seen those roads. They are beat up pretty bad. They were never built for this kind of a load, where these trucks have tons and tons of material on them. But you know what? As a state, we're doing very well between the excise tax and the sales tax. The bill is for $8 million, and I talked to the guy this morning. I want to make sure I understand. They will be put back to the order they were in prior to all the construction starting. Yes, so we're not trying to rebuild a bunch of roads for heavy duty. The base has, you may know, the base has no sales or property tax because it's all federal installations, so there's nothing that they can get there. So who's going to fix the roads if we don't help them a little bit? The people that live there will, and they don't have that same tax base as us, so we hope we can help them there. Ellsworth, I'll just leave you with this. Ellsworth is a gift locally. It provides jobs. It provides a lot of economic opportunity. It's a gift statewide. It provides a ton of excise tax, a sales tax, and there'll be 10,000 people there. There's a lot of sales tax that goes into statewide to the coffers, so it helps there nationally, internationally. It provides safety, and when the B-21 Raider comes, I think we all know, if we haven't, that the world has changed drastically. It's not as a safe place all the time. This airplane is a phenomenal, phenomenal tool for safety around the world, and if we can do our own little part to keep Ellsworth an attractive place for that airplane, I would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 130? Representative Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members of the body. Well, it's kind of, if you want to talk just economics, because that seems what we always talk about here, we give them $8 million and we take in $80 million. I remember last year when we were having a debate about the schools, they wanted $15 million and the $80 million. I think if anybody else wants to give us $80 million and we have to give them $8 million, that seems like a really good deal for the state. That's what goes to the state for this. All the other reasons, we have to keep the base. I mean, come on. I'm the president of Military Officers Association. I go into D.C. People cannot believe that Ellsworth is getting 2 squadrons. And when Senator Rounds was here the other day, he said it looks like we might get a 3rd squadron. There's room out there for 20 more B-21 Raiders. So we'd have 60. I mean, what that does is unbelievable. And the B-21, trying to get off subject here a little bit, but I can talk about this, right? I don't have just about, right? The B-21s, I mean, it's the greatest airframe ever made. Our opponents don't want it to even happen. It's stealth, 100% stealth. It's faster, they don't even say the speed on it, than the B-1, and it's nuclear. I mean, it is the most bad machine ever. We're gonna have 40 for sure, looks like 60, but we gotta give the break. I mean, we gotta give the base some help here. I mean, they tore out that runway because it had to be a different runway for the B-21. So you have all these trucks carrying out chunks of cement. Imagine what that does to the road and the weight of each of those trucks. Then they had to bring in all the material, plus the construction out there. Do you know how much construction $2 billion is? Anybody ever thought about what you could build for $2 billion? That's what they're doing there. So this is, in my mind, my simple little mind, an absolute no-brainer. If you don't like the base, if you don't like the military, just look at it economically. $8 million for $80 million. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 130? Representative Mullally.
Thank you, Speaker. Most of you know that I'm not real hip on spending money in appropriations, especially special appropriations, but this appropriation doesn't create new programs, positions, or regulatory authorities. And the funds are managed through the South Dakota Ellsworth Development Authority. It's a state-created entity authorized to coordinate with federal defense planning. The use restrictions are defined in law, and the funds are non-recurring. And the 2040 sunset ensures fiscal finality, even if it's long-ranged. So I ask that you actually support this bill.
Thank you. Further remarks? Representative Poirier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this bill, and we had a lot of discussion on the floor about this, but the way that I look at it is I've traveled to so many bases in the United States and outside of the United States, and a lot of times in the US side, our bases, the surroundings of our bases are not in good condition. They attract a lot of predatory businesses, negative businesses, I'll say, and they really kind of prey on those who left their home for the first time and don't really know. But I just think that if we have really good roads, then we could really foster better environment and better conditions for our servicemen and women. So this is why I'll be supporting this bill, and I hope you do too.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 130? Representative Jorgensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too rise in support of Ellsworth Air Force Base in this bill. And I want to say it's also a safety issue. We're going to have a lot of new families coming into the area, and the roads are a mess. I can testify to that because I drive them. And I think that we need to take care of our military families and safety first. And just proud to sponsor this bill, and I hope you'll vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. For the remarks, Representative Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to rise and give the perspective from a legislator that's not in a district that's nearby the base. I'm proudly supporting this bill today. I'm old enough to remember the Brat Commission and the risk that South Dakota had in losing the base, and how much of a triumph it was for us to keep it. It is truly a statewide asset, and I'll proudly vote green today. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Derby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What a difference 20 years makes. 20 years ago, I was on the Military Affairs Committee in the Ellsworth Task Force when we heard the words that Ellsworth was on the Base Realignment and Closure Commission. And we all got together and we thought, how are we going to change this? What are we going to do? We had about a 10% chance of getting off that list. And we put together a team made up of the citizens of South Dakota and the Black Hills, the Chamber of Commerce, our congressional delegation, and we got it off the list. And here we are 20 years later. I think of the comment, when you do something yourself, it's a task. But when you do something as a team, it's a vision. This was a vision, and it's come true. Please vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks, Representative Weems.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I happen to be serving in this body in 2005, along with the good representative back here from Aberdeen. And I can tell you it was a statewide effort to save Ellsworth. And it was pretty cool. And I'm very proud to be standing here and supporting Ellsworth again in taking care of their roads, and just excited for what the future has for the Air Force Base here. So thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks, Representative Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I had this nice presentation about all the taxes that this project generates, so I'm glad people touched on that. But sometimes people talk about Ellsworth being a West River, economic part, but it is for the whole state of South Dakota. And national security is a big thing, and especially now in the times that we're in. So I just want to say that, yes, it does generate a ton of tax. A lot of tax is going into the general fund. A little bit of that tax is coming back to help Box Elder. So I do ask you to please support this bill.
Thank you. Further remarks? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 130. Due to the Appropriation and Emergency Clause, Senate Bill 130 does require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 65, nays 2, excused 3.
Senate Bill 130, having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 231, an act to create the Water Infrastructure Development Fund to provide an appropriation to provide for the awarding of grants and loans from the fund for certain rural water projects and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 231, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Mortensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, members of the House. I bring to you Senate Bill 231, and we're talking about water. This bill includes some seed money to be distributed for large infrastructure projects to do with water. Now, It will be determined by the Water Board. We are not setting which projects, but it is my strong expectation, and one that I will follow up on, that this be prioritized for large water projects overall. I often tell my kids that if you don't get started, you're never going to get done. And that's an important note as we think about the enormity of the prospect of building large-scale water projects in this state. I live about 50 yards from the Missouri River. It kind of defines the community I've always called home. It's, of course, provides recreation and beauty, but more than that, the water from that river is life-giving, and not just for people in Pierre and Fort Pierre. That's true for people in Aberdeen and Yankton and all the way down to Pine Ridge. The water lines that feed those were laid by our forebears, and they now impact our lives in big ways and small. A few years ago, knowing that the West River Regional Water System was coming, I read up on the Pick-Sloan Act. You guys wonder what I do to keep myself busy in the summers. I read up on things like the Pick-Sloan Act. Now, the damming of the Missouri River is a part of my family heritage. When that got dammed, we lost over 1,000 acres of our home ranch. Tribal communities up and down the Missouri River lost some of our very best farmland and best protected acres anywhere in this state, got flooded out. Those communities got moved up to the Windy Bluffs or dispersed entirely. And this was all so that we could dam that river and send power out to Minneapolis and Chicago and ensure that they could have barge traffic down in Iowa and Missouri. Well, they got that, and we've already sacrificed. And I say we've paid our share, and we should not hesitate to claim our use of this resource. We should not. If we do not seek to establish our water rights, other people will. Other states with more people and more money will lay claim to this. And the way that water rights are established is based on use. That's how you perfect them. Now, there's an important note here, which is that this must be done in partnership with our tribal communities. Alone, each of our entities are small, but together we could be strong. This must be done in that way. This partnership is not recommended. I submit to you it is essential. The water lines that serve our tribal communities in West River are leaky and inconsistent. And I think it is time that we acknowledge what the tribes already know. Now is the time for a full-scale partnership to start getting these major water projects done. South Dakota has a moment of opportunity right now. Right now. We have never had more clout in Congress. Between Majority Leader Thune and Senator Rounds and Congressman Johnson, each of which are actively pushing to prioritize these large-scale projects in federal appropriation. But we cannot sit around and hope they'll fully fund it, because they will not. That is a fool's errand to hope. We have to act. We have to meet the moment. We need to show that we are forward-thinking and that we understand the importance of this as much as they do. But this bill is a big step toward that. It might only be seed money, but it's a big step to putting our share into these for our people. I'm going to close with this. It seems like lately we've forgotten that the state that we live in was built by our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents. They took actions thinking about the future, not just their own future, but our future as well. And they built highways, and they built power lines, and they built ethanol plants, and they built railroads, and they built pipelines, and they built a ton of major structures and projects that we enjoy today. And it might have been costly in their lifetime, it might have been inconvenient in their lifetime, but they knew that it would serve us in the future. I think it's our time to think about future generations and not just one or two. When we're talking about these water projects, we're thinking about 5 and 10 generations into the future. And nothing is more foundational to our society than water. A thriving society needs water. Now is an important time to get this done. Let's get this started. Please vote green.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 231? Representative Hughes.
Thank you. I want to echo the wonderful remarks of the good representative from Fort Pierre. I was at the dedication of the Wahi Dam in 1962 62, could have been 63, I think it was 62. My dad was hired to photograph the president. One of his pictures is hanging in the cafe in the lower level. I have many others. And one of them is with the president with a Sioux chief in full regalia, and it's a remarkable picture. I encourage you all to read the South Dakota State Historical Society book on the 100th legislature. Read the last chapter, because it covers exactly what the good representative is talking about with Pick Sloan and the Oahe Dam project. And the Oahe project, which never materialized, the representative knows. Read that history. It's only 15, 20 pages, and it will tell you the extraordinary efforts that Senator McGovern and Senator Aberesk and Governor Knipe, that they made. I can't imagine the effort that they made to bring development and use of the Missouri River to basically create a garden in central and northern South Dakota. The promise of that project has never been delivered, and it hasn't been delivered because we have not seized it here. So I just want to share this history with you, because we're eclipsing my lifetime almost on losing the opportunity. Like the good representative said, you establish water rights through use. We can't sit on our hands. Do you remember when Governor Janklow was always threatening to equitably apportion the Missouri River? Because he couldn't get the Corps and he couldn't get the surrounding states. This is a real problem that we need to address. This is every bit as important as Ellsworth Air Force Base. In fact, you could argue that you can fight, but if you don't have water, then we die without water. So please, I implore all of you to carry this in the forefront of your mind as we move into the future, and obviously support this bill.
Thank you. Further remarks, Representative Schwans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too stand in support of this today. A few weeks ago, I had a Senate concurrent resolution that was brought forward to the House and was voted on as a positive in the green here in the House. And so I want to echo all of the sentiments from the two speakers before and say, please vote green.
Further remarks, Representative Duffy.
Thank you, Speaker. I am here today to support this. I think most of you that know I've been talking. There's a handful of people that have been working on water for some time, and I've been one of them. I've learned a lot from them. But I'll also tell you that I grew up in Fort Pierre on this river, and like the representative from Fort Pierre said, that river forms you. In my life growing up, I never thought we wouldn't have water. It was just so abundant and so in front of us. So I never thought about it. Well, I moved to Rapid City. I soon learned what the high desert looks like, and that is a different environment. But my family homesteaded about 40 miles north of here in where the Cheyenne River dumps into the Missouri, and that's underwater now, but they weren't there then. They were broke. They went broke in the Depression, so it didn't matter. But the Missouri River is the longest river in the nation. It's the last big freshwater option for people in thirsty states like Arizona, like Texas. Money and votes are the controlling factor, and they have both. I went to school in Arizona in the 70s, and apart from the jokes you might think about what I remember the 70s, it's fairly vague. I'll go there. But what I do remember is even then they were fighting the allocation of the Colorado River. There's 6 rivers, and I remember a class vividly, and they were fighting. California was taking like 2/3 of Arizona's allocation at the time. So water has been a big issue, and now we have an opportunity. We have this beautiful river that a lot of people sacrifice some things to have it, and it's dammed up and it's manageable. So I hope, whether you live in Aberdeen, if I lived in Aberdeen or Sioux Falls, I would support this no matter what. This isn't just for Rapid City. I feel a little bit like Rapid City is dry because Webb already has one pipeline. They'll get another one. Lewis and Clark has one, and they'll get another one. In Rapid City and all the western part of the state, they are dry and they will need another one. So I guess what I think about here is this is possibly a transformational project, just the beginning. You know, we set up a small fund. It's a matching fund, and hopefully, as time goes on, we get opportunities when the funds are available. Last one, I think Lewis and Clark was a 95-5, I think. It was something close to that, 5 local, 5 state, and 90 federal. The days of 100% are not coming back. But what I think I'll just leave you with is today, I think this is an actual transformational project for people. I'll be long gone. I won't see the results of this thing. It doesn't matter. As the representative said, we're living on the good graces of people before us that were thoughtful. If you think of some of the leadership, and I've known some of them, my God, they had courage just in abundance. So your children, I think, if they stay here, mine left, that makes me angry, but that's what happened. They will thank you for the wisdom of getting a fresh water source out of this river. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks, Representative Derby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we wind through the appropriations process, and we're nearing the end of that, I just wanted to remind everybody that in addition to what was said, this is a high priority for both the Senate and the House, and I would ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 231. Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 231. Due to the appropriation and emergency clause, Senate Bill 231 does require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, the portion of Representative Mortenson's speech on the reading of the Pick Sloan Act clearly has had its impact on my youngest daughter over here, who has fallen asleep. Can I call you at bedtime? I mean, I'd appreciate the help. Thank you.
Representative Fitzgerald. Representative Heineman. Heineman votes aye. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 60, nays 7, excused 3.
Senate Bill 231, having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 240, an act to make an appropriation for county rural access infrastructure and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 240, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Walberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members of the House. I bring to you Senate Bill 240. Talk to you about helping out our counties and townships. Our townships are ones, when we think of property taxes, they don't get much of anything at all. And so they look to us for a lot of help. And what a better way to try to help them when a disaster strikes, flooding happens, culverts and bridges need to be repaired. And granted, some of you live in the bigger cities, and this just doesn't preclude you, as a good representative from Gregory County said earlier today. This also helps the cities out as they grow and continue to prosper. Senate Bill 240 not only helps the townships, but if you think of emergency services, we have to be able to get to those homes in a timely manner. Some of those timely manners could be very critical when it concerns life or death. As a paramedic, I've seen firsthand what this money can do to allow us to reach those people's homes in life-threatening emergencies. The Rural Transformation Infrastructure Fund not only benefits the residents in regular, utilized, and the small structures, but the large culverts, but also the people that are hunting in our state that are buying licenses. Now, the counties and townships get to work together. The townships work on their need for these areas. They go to the counties and they work together. But the thing is the townships need to have 20% minimum to go into this. So I'm asking you for support today to help appropriate $5 million for this, and so we can keep this project going and help all the townships throughout South Dakota. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Further remarks on Senate Bill 240? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House. Representative Norstrop.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have worked hard in the Appropriation Committee to form consensus, and as part of that process, the House and the Senate both believe this is a high priority, and I would ask for a green vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, correct? Okay. Seeing no further remarks, the question for the House is final passage of Senate Bill 240. Due to the appropriation and emergency clause, Senate Bill 240 will require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote. Representative Healy.
Personal privilege, please.
Granted.
I'm doing this because he's not my leader anymore, and he told me I couldn't, so I'm doing it instead. But I would like everyone to stand up and welcome former Representative Orrin Lesmeister to the House.
Martinson votes aye. Representative Weems. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 64, nays 2, excused 4.
Senate Bill 240, having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 131, an act to revise the season in which a nonprofit organization may host a special pheasant hunt for disabled veterans and Purple Heart recipients.
Senate Bill 131, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring to the body Senate Bill 131, and what this does is revise the pheasant season that we have. Currently, the regular pheasant season was hard to explain because they got it watered down. It's always been the third Saturday in October, and then we added where we could have a resident season starting the week before, so the residents get a chance to hunt before the out-of-staters come, and then we put youth hunting in September. But what this does for a pheasant preserve, their season goes from 1 September to 31 March. It has to be, sanctioned by Game Fish and Parks and licensed to be a pheasant preserve. So what we're going to do is bring in disabled vets, and it says Purple Heart recipients. I think most Purple Heart recipients probably are disabled, but might be some that aren't. And we're going to bring them into a pheasant preserve. There's one down in the Wings of Valor, down by Parker, that just does an awesome job. And if you go down there to hunt, you got guys in wheelchairs, guys with an arm missing, and I mean, it'll just tug on your heartstrings to go there. So we're just trying to get it changed so they can do it using the season that the preserves have, not the regular pheasant season. No charge to veterans, everything's free. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 131? Any further remarks? Representative Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the body, got a question for the primary sponsor.
State your question.
Being the season is going to be extended, does the limit still stay at 3 roosters?
Representative Goodwin, do you wish to answer that question?
Well, that's a tricky question, but yes, Mr. Speaker, I'll tackle it. I'd have to look, but I think Representative, on a preserve, you get 5 instead of 3. Right.
Follow-up or remarks?
Thank you. I just wanted to be sure that you knew that was the way the rules are in the Game Fish and Parks regulations. Thank you.
That was a trick question.
Okay, thank you. Any further remarks on Senate Bill 131? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 131. All those in favor will vote yea, those opposed nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote. Representative Derby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, at the bottom of the calendar, you'll see there's a legislative commemoration honoring the South Dakota Healthcare Association's 75th anniversary. Whereas the South Dakota Healthcare Association has, for the past 75 years, focused on providing assistance in long-term care services so that individuals can continue living dignified and meaningful lives. And whereas the South Dakota Healthcare Association has educated countless individuals, families, and community leaders over the years about planning for long-term care services in order to better help elderly individuals and persons with disabilities to lead productive and active lives. And whereas the South Dakota Healthcare Association is committed to continuing this mission for many decades and more generations to come. Hence, whereas the South Dakota Healthcare Association's Board of Directors consists of President Jason Hansen of Estelline, Secretary Laura Carlson of Rapid City, Treasurer Casey Clapper, Watertown, non-proprietary representatives Tyler Donahue, Rapid City, and Deborah Herbold, Sioux Falls, proprietary representatives Selena Block, Rapid City, and Megan Kleinsasser, Wessington, assisted living representative Christy Beaucamp, Watertown, and immediate past President Titiana Johnson of Rapid City. Now, therefore, it be commemorated by the 101st Legislature of the State of South Dakota that the South Dakota Healthcare Association is congratulated for 75 years of life-enhancing services to elderly individuals and persons with disabilities in South Dakota. And to my left, up above, are representatives of the South Dakota Healthcare Association. Let's welcome them.
Mulder votes aye. Representative Hughes. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 66, excused 4.
Senate Bill 131, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 214, an act to amend provisions pertaining to the publication of the statewide voter registration file.
Senate Bill 214, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Baxter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. SB 214 is a cleanup bill related to HB 1062 from last year. HB 1062 provided the maintenance and publication of the statewide voter registration file. 214 clarifies some language regarding updates to the list and reconciles a section of previously existing code that seemed to conflict with the language in 1062 regarding internet access to the list. The intent of HB 1062 last year was that full updated lists would be published weekly, but the bill language referred only to the updates, not the full updated list. So 214 corrects that to more clearly reflect the intent. 1062 also provided for posting the list on the SOS website. However, a pre-existing statute, which did not get updated in 1062, prohibited unrestricted access to the list on the internet. 214 adds the exception clause to that section of code, making both compatible and more clear for the SOS to implement, and they had no opposition to it. And as you see, it sailed through the Senate, so I'd ask for a yes vote on 214. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks? Representative Van Diepen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to rise in opposition to Senate Bill 214 today. I voted against House Bill 1062 last year, and that was because we're putting everybody's personal information out online for everybody to get. Right now, we're going to add, and we're going to not do 1 year, we're going to do a 5-year rolling average and put all of our voters' information out, violating their rights. When I look at this, I wonder why we want to protect a select few people, and I've talked about this on the floor before. What about all of the voters of South Dakota? Why are we releasing all of their information, their personal information? We removed ours. We're removing law enforcement and judges. But just because you're a voter, we're going to blast your information out there for anybody to get. Like I said, we took all of our addresses off there, and we're going to add our constituents. What we need to do is have more respect for our constituents and their privacy and keep their information where it should be and not blast it all over the internet. I respectfully ask for your vote no on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 214? Any further remarks? Anything in closing, Representative Baxter? Representative Baxter in closing.
Thank you. And just to clarify, on the Secretary of State's website prior to last year, the information was already available on there. If you went under the voter information portal, you could get it anyway. So it's nothing different that's being posted now than what was on there previously to 1062 passing. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 214. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote.
Ismay votes aye. Representative Emery. Emery votes no. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 36, nays 30, excused 4.
Senate Bill 214, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 17, an act to prohibit a candidate or political committee from accepting contributions or loans made by a foreign national to provide a penalty therefor and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 17, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Reimer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. This afternoon, I bring to you SB 17, and this was introduced at the request of the Attorney General, and this amends codified law, South Dakota Codified Law 122721 to prohibit candidates and political committees from accepting contributions or loans from foreign nationals as defined by federal law. SB 17 addresses this problem. This bill increases the penalty for violations, making a first offense a Class 1 felony, let me clarify that. Class 1 misdemeanor, and any subsequent offense with the same calendar year, a Class 6 felony, thereby strengthening enforcement mechanisms. The legislation declares an emergency, ensuring that new prohibitions and penalties take effect immediately for the 2026 election. So why would South Dakota incorporate this into state law? It gives South Dakotans its own enforcement power. It makes the rule clear for state and local candidates. It allows South Dakota to impose state penalties. It aligns state definitions with federal standards, and it strengthens election integrity. Please vote green.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 17? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 17. Due to the emergency clause, Senate Bill 17 will require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote. Ladies and gentlemen, our doctor of the day is joining us in the gallery in the back. please join me in thanking and welcoming our frequent and most favorite doctor of the day, Dr. Neil Chiquin. Thanks for being here.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 66, excused 4.
Senate Bill 17, having received the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 133, an act to provide additional legislative oversight of rulemaking.
Senate Bill 133, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Norstrop.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As everyone in the body knows, we pass laws and the executive branch passes rules. What this bill does is it provides additional legislative oversight on rules. It basically does an impact analysis. And as part of that impact analysis, the first thing the executive branch has to do is tell us whether it is a major rule or not. If it's a major rule, the definition of a major rule is more than $3 million of impact within 2 years. And then if it does qualify as a major rule, then it goes through additional steps. The additional steps are basically the executive branch needs to tell us why the rule is needed. They need to say the legal basis for the rule. They need to show us the alternative plans to the rule. And then it goes through another list of options that says, or another list of check marks, and that is they need to estimate the benefit of this new rule. They need to estimate the cost and the financial benefits to the businesses, individuals, non-government agencies, and other units of local government. And then they also need to estimate the compliance cost to those same entities. They also need to do an analysis of the impact on small businesses. So basically, what's it going to cost across the board? They need to tell us what their key assumptions are. And once they do that, then the interim rules review, our legislative branch has options. One is we can send it back to the executive branch and tell them to consider amending it. So that's the first option. Other options is we can determine if they actually have the authority to do what they want to do. Is it within their scope of what we've asked them to do to make that particular rule? And the last option for our branch of government is to say to them, maybe this is a bill and not a rule. So with that, it basically provides oversight from our branch to their branch. I've always heard people say, we need to do something to strengthen the legislative branch. Well, this is one thing we can do to do that. With that, I would ask for a green vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 133? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 133. All those in favor will vote yea, those opposed nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine and the members will proceed to vote.
Representative Fitzgerald. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 66, nays 1, excused 3.
Senate Bill 133, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 41, an act to revise a provision related to criminal invasions of privacy, prohibit the creation and distribution of digitally fabricated material of an identifiable individual, and provide penalties therefor.
Senate Bill 41, having had its second reading, it's up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the Attorney General's bill, and bringing it down on behalf of the Judiciary Committee. I must admit this is a bit of a blush-worthy topic, but nonetheless, it is an important bill. This bill is an act to prevent the creation and distribution of AI-generated adult content of an identifiable person. South Dakota has an opportunity to become one of the strongest states in the nation, protecting its citizens from the rapidly growing threat of AI-generated non-consensual pornography, commonly known as deep fake porn. In the past 2 years, the availability of free and low-cost artificial intelligence tools has made it incredibly easy for anyone with access to a handful of social media photos to create hyper-realistic nude or sexually explicit images of another person without their knowledge or consent. South Dakota law does not clearly cover entirely fabricated AI-generated photos of another person. New guardrails need to be put in place to prevent creation of AI-generated pornographic images without the consent of the person in the pictures. This bill does that. It will criminalize the creation and distribution of AI-generated pornographic content depicting an identifiable person without their consent, addressing the rapidly growing threat of non-consensual deepfake porn. Advances in realistic AI image generation now allow anyone to easily create hyper-realistic nude or sexually explicit fake images from just a few social media photos, enabling harassment, extortion, bullying, and reputational destruction. Existing statutes criminalize secretly recording real nudity, but fail to address indistinguishable AI-generated fakes. This bill fills that gap to provide law enforcement and prosecutors with necessary tools to act. This bill would apply only when, one, there's a specific intent to harass, annoy, self-gratify, threaten, alarm, or cause substantial harm, reputational, emotional, or financial. And two, would apply to identifiable individuals who did not consent. Further, a person must also knowingly and intentionally create, disclose, disseminate, distribute, or sell the fabricated images or videos. By classifying the targeted creation and distribution of harmful AI-generated explicit images as a serious felony, South Dakota can become a national leader in protecting citizens from this form of rapidly growing technological harm. Because of the degree of harm that can come from these images being disseminated, SB 41 places a Class 5 felony for creating, distributing, selling, or disseminating these deep fake pornographic images in violation of this bill. These types of photos are degrading and harassing to the victim, can cause reputational harm, and can cause the victim worry and stress, amongst other things. I ask you to please support SB 41, and I expect that there'll be a friendly amendment coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks, Representative Mortensen.
I have an amendment to Senate Bill 41. It is published online. It is 41A, and I move it at this time.
That motion to amend Senate Bill 41 with Amendment 41A having been made and seconded, remarks on your motion, Representative Mortensen.
Yeah, just briefly, this was the cause of my no vote in committee, which is to make sure that we are hitting the right target. Whenever it comes to the First Amendment, you need to be very targeted in what you're going to hit. This adds a definition of nudity, which already exists in Title 22. My mom watches this sometimes, so I'm not going to read what it is. I don't think she'd be proud of the work I'm doing. But just so you know, those are titles and definitions that have been in statute for years and have been developed over the years to be targeted in what we think of as nudity and not partial nudity, so that when we're restricting what kinds of content people can put in this bill, that it be those things that are truly harmful and not somewhere in between. And so I encourage support for the amendment. It was written in consultation with the Attorney General who brought this. In fact, they put the amendment together for me, and I introduced it because they thought that it met their goals as well.
Thank you. Further remarks on the Mortensen motion to amend? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is the Mortensen motion to amend Senate Bill 41 with Amendment 41A. This is a voice vote. All those in favor of the motion to amend will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We're now on Senate Bill 41 as amended. Are there any further remarks? Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. several months ago in Winter, South Dakota, we had a couple of ladies come to our community. They came to talk to us about kids. They came to talk to us about just exactly what they're talking about in this bill today. It's about trying to prevent some of the stuff that's going on AI-wise, turning kids into victims and sometimes causing up to suicides because of the pressures that are put on these kids, because they're getting their pictures, but it's not their bodies. But they don't know that. And these pictures are going all over. So please support this. This piece of legislation is very important. And I hope we take care of some of this right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 41, Representative Mullally.
Thank you, Speaker. I've had conflicting ideas on this bill. Yes, it is a problem, but do I want a stupid, drunk college student getting a felony on because they thought it was a joke? No. But then again, being a survivor of this particular issue, I would much rather have seen a bill that came across that required anytime you take a picture from one part of the internet and you embed it in another part, that it is AI generated, that it automatically puts a disclaimer saying this is AI generated, because the perception that you see when you actually see that will change, because you know it's not real. It states it's AI generated. I would much rather have seen that type of bill coming rather than possibly giving our young people that do stupid things when they're very young to end up with a felony on their record. So I'm having problems with the bill, but as many of the legislators on this floor say, well, we can come back and fix it next year. So I'm still contemplating if I'm going to be voting for or against it. I still believe that there was a better way to curb this problem by having an automatic requirement of a disclaimer anytime an AI image is produced.
Thank you. Further remarks? Representative Whitman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I voted against this in committee, and I will be voting no again on the floor today, but not because I don't appreciate the intent of this bill to address the serious harm that's caused by digitally fabricated images and invasions of privacy. I agree with the good representative from Pennington that I am afraid we will see young individuals make terrible, dumb decisions in the name of a joke. And I have concerns with the penalty structure in this bill, specifically with the creation of an additional Class 6 felony. And I fear that in a lot of cases, this level of criminal penalty would be overly broad and could capture conduct that would be more appropriately addressed with a lower level offense. And for that reason, again, I have tremendous respect for the intent of this legislation and the work that went into it, but I will be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 41? Representative Greenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it's very important that we discuss a bill like this. I noticed when it was being introduced that there was a few smiles across the audience, but you know, I'd rather talk to you kids up there in front, you pages, because what we're trying to do here, and I support this bill, is we're trying, if nothing else, to make you aware of AI and the good things that can happen from it, but also the very, very bad things. And you don't intend for it to happen, but when you go off to school, you never know what somebody else's agenda is. And sometimes it's moneymaker, you know, and
There's cyberbullying going on out there, and that's why we are also talking about cell phone bans, et cetera, et cetera. But I think you should know that this is something that is going to be here and now, and you need to have an education in it so that you don't fall victim to it. And when there's cyberbullying going on and your pictures being AI generated, what are you doing? Well, you're the victim, and a lot of times it's done for money. They say, well, we won't put this on if you give us such and such a amount of money, and so on and so forth. I tell you this because I was a teacher, and one of my former students is also a teacher out in Wyoming, and his son would have graduated this year. He would have been 18 in December, but he couldn't take the cyberbullying and all of the generation of what was going on with him, and I won't go into detail. So he committed suicide. And it got that bad. He was the top of his class. He was in music. He was in sports. He was just everything you'd want in a son. And so, if nothing else, kids, beware of this. Beware. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 41, Representative Fitzgerald.
Thank you. I stand in support of this bill. I discussed in caucus why this bill was written, and it's pretty disgusting, but I won't mention it on the House floor. I think people need to realize that, you know, everything is fun and games until you're the victim of this yourself, and then it's not so funny. And I think that this potential felony charge serves as a strong deterrent that you got to be really serious when you do this kind of activity, because the effects of what could happen are very serious. What the former speaker just said, you know, it could result in a suicide. So I would please ask you to vote for this bill. The Attorney General's office is requesting it. Their request is sincere. It is needed. And so I would just ask you all to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 41? Any further remarks? Representative Roby in closing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate the good discussion on this important topic. I guess I would address one thing in closing regarding, you know, the case of a college kid who's had too much to drink, doing something stupid. I mean, the bill has very specific facets. You know, it must be, there's a specific intent requirement, must be a knowing and intentional aspect to it. And so I think that it's narrowly tailored enough that this isn't intending to catch kind of stupid behavior. It's really intended to catch behavior that's intended to harass and cause harm to folks. And so I'd appreciate your green vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 41. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote.
Garcia votes aye. Representative May. Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
Clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 60, nays 6, excused 4.
Senate Bill 41, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 42, an act to enhance the penalties for ingestion, possession with intent to deliver, and delivery of a controlled substance in a state correctional facility.
Senate Bill 42, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Wahlberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I bring to you Senate Bill 42. Senate Bill 42 is being sponsored on behalf of the Attorney General's office with the rising problems that are going on in our prison and a hope to try to solve some of these things in some different manners. South Dakota has experienced 8 overdose deaths within the last year, the state prison system. This bill does just that. We're going to place some harsher penalties on people that are going to be bringing in drugs, that are working there, that are delivering them to other inmates that are there. Those inmates could be delivering those drugs to other people that are there, hence causing some of these overdoses. The overdose deaths in the penitentiary have resulted from multiple substance abuse, K2 spices, just to name a few. The penalty for possession of these substances is going to be increased underneath this legislation. Meanwhile, in the second part of the legislation, we're going to talk about the ingestion of these substances. Ingestion of the substances under this new statute and new section will be a Class 5 felony for inmates or parolees to ingest drugs while incarcerated or under parole supervision. This restores the ingestion penalty to inmates and parolees to where it was prior, being reduced to a misdemeanor. No punishment currently exists for these crimes underneath South Dakota state law. The crime of ingestion was reduced to a misdemeanor. This is because an inmate or a parolee cannot be punished for a misdemeanor underneath this conviction, as inmates and parolees cannot legally serve county jail time, nor be supervised by probation while simultaneously underneath the Department of Corrections for parole. This felony level detours drug use by the state correctional facility inmates and parolees. A Class 5 felony for ingestion within this confines of a state correctional facility or while on parole is appropriate, as it is not the inmate's first offense. And I want to highlight, that's not the inmate's first offense. A Class 5 felony is consistent with the charge of possession of a controlled substance. Individuals on parole and in the penitentiary already have violated the law and should therefore be held to the higher standard. Again, initially when I brought this up, the drugs are getting in there somehow. They're being brought in by people that work at the prison, that are visiting the prison, therefore being handed off to other people that are in the prison, other inmates, and being delivered to others so they can ingest them. And tragically, some of those people are dying. The state penitentiary is a place for rehabilitation and is supposed to be a sober environment. While rehabilitation is important, so is the accountability for individuals who use and encourage the use of controlled substances while in the penitentiary. It jeopardizes everyone's chances to succeed and to be held accountable. We ask that you please support Senate Bill 82.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 42. Representative Whitman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I was the no vote in committee, and I shall be a no vote again on the floor, but that is not because I do not have the utmost respect for my colleagues and the Attorney General's office. I was a part of this body last year that voted to remove felony ingestion, and I was so proud to cast that vote. My concern with this specific bill is not with the individuals that are bringing illicit substances into our penitentiary, into our facilities. My concern is with individuals that are struggling with substance use disorder, using again, and then having an additional felony and an additional penalty put on top of them. I fear that we are further penalizing individuals that are struggling with addiction, and for that reason, I will be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 42. Any further remarks? Representative Vandera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The proliferation of drugs in the prison system is a danger that needs to be addressed. This bill does just that by placing harsher penalties on anyone who delivers controlled substances to an inmate within the state penitentiary system. As amended, the first section of this bill increases the penalty from a Class 4 to a Class 3 felony for the delivery of controlled substance to someone in the penitentiary. The overdose deaths in the penitentiary have resulted from multiple substances, including K2 or cannabicyclohexanol, CP47, 497C8. Simultaneous probation with this is important because if we have ingestion reduced to a misdemeanor and they're in the penitentiary, they're already there with a higher crime than a misdemeanor. So it's very important what happened last year, and I did support the ingestion bill last year, and I'm proud to have supported it. However, I think what we need to carve out here are those people who are serving in the penitentiary and those people who are blatantly bringing drugs into our penitentiary system. Please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 42? Any further remarks? Representative Rice,
Yeah, question for the prime, please.
state your question.
Does this carve out the, just for the people in the penitentiary, or is it for anyone who has an addiction?
Representative Wahlberg, do you wish to answer that question?
I may have to ask a clarification. What do you mean carve out for the penitentiary?
Representative Rice, state your question.
Yes, Mr. Leader. What I mean is, does it only, is this bill in the language, is it just for the people that are in prison already, that are, for the people that are giving them the drugs in prison, or is it for anybody that maybe has an addiction and that is a first-time offender?
Representative Wahlberg, do you wish to answer that question?
Making sense.
I will do my best. I think you're talking about maybe section 2, but let's just attack both of them at the same time. So anybody that's coming into the prison, the enhanced penalty for bringing the controlled substance in is going from the class 4 to the class 3. Okay? And then we're increasing the penalty from the class 1 misdemeanor to the class 5 for those people that are in the prison that are using drugs, and then eventually they're going to be out on parole. And we want to get them well. We want to succeed in this. But with the current system that is going on right now, with that misdemeanor, there's nobody that's getting the help throughout this entire state. And so helping them succeed with this, that's what we're trying to do. We don't want to penalize them again. Does that answer your question, I hope?
Follow-up, Representative Rice?
Thank you. Follow up. Just wanting to know, that takes care of the people in prison, I think. But what about just a regular first-time offender? Does it go up to that new class?
Representative Wahlberg, do you wish to answer that question?
I will, sir. The way this bill is written, it's related to those people that are ingesting in the prison and parolees.
That's what I wanted the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 42? Representative Halverson.
Mr. Speaker, last year I was one of them that supported the reduction in the penalty. And as I thought about it, I knew I'd made the wrong decision. And I apologized to our circuit court judge at home. And the reason for that is I thought that by reducing that penalty to a misdemeanor, that they could go get help. They could go some rehab place, and that would help them, and they wouldn't have a felony on their account. But I was wrong as I thought about it. The only way that they can get to those places is if they go through the circuit court system, which is going to require a felony on their record. But the circuit court system can take care of most of that. However, they do the sentencing, and they can do that by sentencing into some place and coming away with nothing on their record. And so I made a bad decision last year. I don't want to make that same decision this year. So I need to support this bill, and I hope you do too.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 42? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 42. All those in favor will vote yea, those opposed nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 56, nays 10, excused 4.
Senate Bill 42, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members. Poirier versus no.
Poirier votes no. Mr. Speaker, there were ayes 55, nays 11, excused 4.
Senate Bill 42, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 98, an act to prevent virtual currency kiosk fraud.
Senate Bill 98, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Weisgram.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 98 is a consumer protection bill which will prevent virtual currency kiosk fraud. For those of you who are unfamiliar with a virtual currency kiosk, it's a physical internet-connected terminal that allows users to exchange cash for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. They are located in places like convenience stores, gas stations, bars, and restaurants. People use virtual currency kiosks to conduct legitimate cryptocurrency transactions, but unfortunately, they've also become a common tool for scammers. Criminals use virtual currency kiosks to steal millions of dollars from customers each year. SB 98 addresses virtual currency kiosk fraud and protects South Dakotans by licensing virtual currency kiosk operators with the state, setting up daily transaction limits to prevent significant financial losses, giving paper receipts with relevant transactional information to the customer, displaying terms and conditions clearly before a transaction, including any fees charged and the exchange rate, and requiring virtual currency kiosk operators to refund fraudulent transactions. SB 98 does not prevent the operation of virtual currency kiosks in South Dakota or limit the number of virtual currency kiosks an operator can have in South Dakota, or it does not prevent a South Dakotan from engaging in lawful, legitimate transactions using a virtual currency kiosk. Briefly, here's a summary of what each section of the bill accomplishes. Section 1 defines terms. Sections 2, 3, and 4 address licensing and reporting virtual currency operator. Section 5 requires a receipt for each transaction. Section 6 provides disclosure guidelines. Section 7 requires a refund to victims of virtual currency kiosk fraud. Section 8 establishes daily transaction limits. Section 9 creates a cap on transaction fees. Section 10 requires a toll-free customer service number. Section 11 requires virtual currency operators to provide a contact information to law enforcement in case of a fraud. Section 12 requires operators to maintain a written anti-fraud policy. Section 13 requires operators to use software to assist in detecting fraud. Section 14 requires user identification verification prior to accepting a transaction. And finally, Section 15 requires training to virtual currency kiosk staff to educate them and the users about fraud in kiosk. It's a fairly long bill, but I thought each section did deserve some explanation. And I appreciate your attention, and I'll be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on Senate Bill 98? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the House is final passage of Senate Bill 98. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members will proceed to vote.
Mr. Speaker, all members have voted.
The clerk will please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there are ayes 59, nays 7, excused 4.
Senate Bill 98, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is incorrect. There being no objection, the House will now revert to order of business number 5, reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on House Education respectfully reports that Senate Bill 198 returns without recommendation. Respectfully submitted, Lana J. Greenfield, Chair.
Constitution requires the Speaker to sign bills in open session, and so the Speaker is signing Senate Bill 197, an act to modify the administration of the South Dakota Ireland Trade Fund. The Speaker is signing Senate Bill 138, an act to revise the time within which a recount for a school board election must be completed. The Speaker is signing Senate Bill 113, an act to increase the penalty for preventing practice of religion. The Speaker is signing Senate Bill 101, an act to amend provisions pertaining to the duties of presidential electors. Speaker signing Senate Bill 100, an act to revise provisions related to trusts. Speaker signing Senate Bill 88, an act to clarify the procedure for a potential condemner to examine real property absent the property owner's permission. The Speaker is signing Senate Bill 82, an act to prohibit the misrepresentation of an animal as a service animal and to provide a penalty therefor. Speaker signing Senate Bill 81, an act to clarify the prohibition on injuring or harassing a service animal. Speaker signing Senate Bill 32, an act to amend and repeal provisions pertaining to the ballot requirements for certain elections and to declare an emergency. Speaker signing Senate Bill 1027, an act to clarify citations to federal regulations regarding pipeline safety inspections. The Speaker is signing House Bill 1049, an act to protect electric infrastructure in this state. Speaker is signing House Bill 1092, an act to update provisions pertaining to open records. Speaker signing House Bill 1099, an act to reschedule the pharmaceutical compensation of crystalline polymorph psilocybin in a drug product approved by the Food and Drug Administration as a Schedule 4 controlled substance. Speaker signing House Bill 1107, an act to modify restrictions on lands for certain public purposes. Speaker signing House Bill 1126, an act to revise a provision related to driving under the influence. The Speaker is signing House Bill 1164, an act to establish the crime of fraudulent assisted reproduction and provide a penalty and civil liability therefor. The Speaker is signing House Bill 1188, an act to limit the liability of law enforcement officers and others when removing a disabled vehicle from a highway, a right-of-way, or public waters. The Speaker is signing House Bill 1193, an act to modify the provisions for a refund of taxes to disabled veterans and surviving spouses under certain property tax relief programs. The Speaker is signing House Bill 1234, an act to revise provisions related to serving a subpoena in a contested case. And the Speaker is signing House Bill 1264, an act to eliminate the Agricultural Land Assessment Implementation and Oversight Advisory Task Force and to provide that the Department of Revenue receive the submission of recommendations and provide a report on agricultural value. Are there any announcements? Representative Lems.
Tomorrow, House Commerce and Energy, we will meet at 10 o'clock, room 464, 2 bills.
Thank you. Representative Derby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 announcements, please.
Go ahead.
First is House Committee on Appropriations meeting at 9:45, followed by the Joint Committee on Appropriations at 11:15. My second announcement is many of you know Roger Tellinghusen, former Attorney General, longtime lobbyist. He is retiring, and the South Dakota Counties is hosting a happy hour from 5 to 7 at 211 East Prospect Street Avenue. Stop by and say hi to Roger. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Odenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House State Affairs meets tomorrow morning in 414 at 7:45 to consider 5 bills.
Thank you. Representative Goodwin.
If you noticed, our social calendar is shrinking. I can't figure out why. But there is a reception from Marty Jackley from 5 to 7 at the American Legion. Everyone's welcome.
Thank you. Further announcements. Representative Jorgensen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Catacomb Caucus, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.
Governor's Large Conference Room Bible Study. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Representative Baumüller.
Mr. Speaker, I move we adjourn.
All those in favor of adjournment will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. We are adjourned.